Welcome, TVET leaders, to today's explainer. Look, if you're a principal navigating vocational education today, you already know leadership is about a whole lot more than just managing staff and students. It's about literal institutional survival. Today, our goal is to bridge high-level leadership principles with a highly practical design of income-generating activities, or IGAs. We're going to blend Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with a human-centered design process to help you build truly sustainable revenue. So let's just dive right into the million-dollar question every single TVET leader faces when they're handed the mandate to generate independent funding. You've got workshops, you've got land, you've got incredibly skilled instructors. The pressure's on to turn those institutional assets into viable income streams. But how on earth do you do that without completely exhausting your staff or totally running your equipment into the ground? Well, that is the exact challenge we're going to crack today. Here's our roadmap for the explainer. First, we'll hit the TVET Sustainability Challenge. Then, Habit 6, Synergize to Ideate. After that, we'll look at the Lean IGA Canvas, break down its 5 elements, and finally, get you fully prepped for the workshop.
Section 1, the TVET Sustainability Challenge.
We have to start by just acknowledging the intense, very real pressure on your institutions right now to bring in cash while budgets are shifting. Stephen Covey's concept of the P/PC balance perfectly captures this dynamic. Remember the old story of the goose that laid the golden eggs? You absolutely need those golden eggs. In our case, that's the income your institution needs to function. That's the P, or production. But you literally cannot afford to neglect the goose itself. That's your PC, or production capability. In your world, the goose is your institutional capability, your equipment, your staff's well-being, your physical spaces. The absolute bottom line here is that we must generate income without liquidating our institutional assets. Covey gives this great example of a manager who runs a machine 24/7 with absolutely zero downtime for maintenance. The production is phenomenal. Costs drop, profits skyrocket, and hey, that manager gets a promotion. Golden eggs, right? But the poor person who takes over inherits a totally ruined, broken machine. Running your TV equipment day and night to offer community services might give you a quick cash injection, but it ultimately destroys your assets. We've got to design IGAs that respect this delicate balance. Section 2, Habit 6, Synergize to Ideate. To see how this builds into our mindset for creating sustainable initiatives, you're probably already familiar with the 5 stages of human-centered design. During your online phase and field assignments, you've been living deep in that empathize stage, doing structured interviews with staff, students, and community members. You've been seeking first to understand. Now, as we gear up for the workshop, we're shifting gears into the Ideate phase. This is the fun part, where diverse groups take real data and start brainstorming actual solutions. But here's the catch for us as leaders. We can't just throw any random idea at the wall. We have to flat out reject win-lose scenarios. A classic win-lose IGA is overpricing a service to your local community, or maybe pushing your instructors to work unpaid overtime just to run a production unit. That exploits your stakeholders and burns your institution's trust. Instead, we have to lean into Habit 6, Synergize. We're looking for cross-departmental win-win ideas where the community gets real value and the institution gets sustainable income.
What's really fascinating here is how Covey points out that high emotional bank accounts combined with win-win thinking create the absolute ideal environment for synergy. Think about it. When you get your department heads together at the workshop and people are genuinely empathetic and brave enough to share, they stop defending their own turf. They start communicating synergistically. That is exactly when the best, most viable IGA concepts are born. It's what Covey calls finding the middle way. It's not a compromise. It's finding a much higher, better alternative together.
Section 3, the Lean IGA Canvas. So, how do we practically capture these synergistic ideas? Well, once you brainstorm them, you need a way to test them fast. Nobody wants to read a 50-page business plan right out of the gate, right? So instead, on workshop day 4, you're going to build a 1-page Lean IGA canvas in your table groups. It strips everything down to just 5 core components: offer, payer, cost to start, asset used, and key risks. Section 4, the 5 canvas elements. Let's quickly break down these 5 elements so you are completely ready to hit the ground running. First up, the offer and the payer. Your offer has to clearly solve a real problem. It can't just be something you feel like selling, it has to be something the community actually needs. And your payer? They need to be explicitly defined, pulling directly from those empathy interviews you did. Try to avoid vague terms like the general public. We want specifics. Think local smallholder farmers who need equipment repair. You need to know exactly who is opening their wallet. Next, we have the cost to start and the asset used. And this is where Covey's golden goose comes roaring back into the picture. You have to make sure your cost to start explicitly builds in the price of maintaining the asset used. Say your IGA idea uses the carpentry workshop's power tools. Your startup and running costs absolutely must include blade sharpening and motor maintenance. You are literally designing the protection of your golden goose right into the DNA of your financial model.
Finally, the fifth element, key risks. Covey talks about leadership in Habit 2 as being the person who climbs the tallest tree in the jungle and yells, "Wrong jungle," while all the managers are busy hacking through the undergrowth. Identifying your key risks early on, things like likely failure paths, compliance rules, or tricky ministry approvals, is how you make sure your new income-generating activity isn't just efficiently charging into the totally wrong jungle. To put this into perspective, let's look at a real-world example mapped directly onto our 5 Canvas elements, a Kenyan TVET Weldon Workshop's after-hours repair service. The offer is a reliable after-hours metal repair service. The payer is local transport businesses whose vehicles break down outside normal hours. The cost to start involves overtime wages for instructors and some local marketing. The asset used is the institution's existing welding equipment, and the key risks, instructor burnout and accelerated wear and tear on those machines. When you lay it out cleanly like this, the idea is instantly clear, it's testable, and it is totally ready for peer feedback.
Section 5. Preparing for the workshop.
Now that you understand the canvas, here is exactly how we're going to use it. When you arrive for workshop day 4, we aren't going to sit around talking abstract theory. You're going to dive right in and pull the real interview data you gathered from your staff and community. Together, your table will synthesize those insights, define the core opportunity, brainstorm synergistically, meaning no filtering at first, and then pick your absolute strongest concept to build into your one-page Lean IGA canvas. By that afternoon, you'll actually be speed dating your canvas, pitching it to other principals to get rapid-fire peer feedback.
So I want to leave you with a thought to chew on before the workshop. True synergy demands diversity of thought. If everyone at your table has the exact same background and the exact same blind spots, you are never going to find that innovative middle way. So, who do you actually need in the room? Which diverse colleagues will you synergize with to make your institution's income generation a reality? Bring that collaborative energy to day 4, and let's start building the future of your TVET institution. Thank you for joining this explainer, and we'll see you at the workshop.